Staring into your eyes makes my heart come alive. Suddenly brought to light when I met you. 1, 2, 3, jump! This is real love. This is real love. This is real love. This is real love. Oh. One more time, we say. You pull me closer and closer, holding my heart to the very end. Jesus, I'm found in your freedom. This is real love. This is real love. This is real love. When I was searching, your love was never far. You made a way to get to me. You were the whisper leading me to your heart. Forever I belong to you. Now I can see clearly, my God, you for me. You won't let go. Your love won't let me down. And I know it's true. Yeah, I know that your love is all around. I believe in you, holding on to you, holding on, and I know you will never fail. I want all of you, you never change. Your love won't let me down. Love won't let me Love won't let me Love won't let me. Right when I need you, you listen as I pray. You leave the 99 for me. You paint the sky with promises of your grace. So I will find my way to you. Now I can see clearly, my God, you for me. You won't let go. Your love won't let me down. And I know it's true. Yeah, I know that your love is all around. I believe in you, holding on to you, holding on, and I know you will never fail. I want all of you, you never change. Your love won't let me down. Love won't let me. Love won't let me. Holding on, and I know you will never fail. I want all of you, you'll never change. Your love won't let me down. Love won't.
All right, hey, we're back. We're back. Come on in, grab a seat. Whew. Anybody's head ready to explode yet? It's got about all the information you can handle in there. We got one more session to go. We're going to have some fun. So we're going to bring up a game. Hey, that's me. We're going to bring up a game. You can play at home, online. You can do this as well. This is one of my favorite games that I've done with the youth ministry, and it's got I don't know how to say it. It's got kind of a dark side, maybe like my books. Maybe you like my books a little bit. It's just my kind of humor. So, anyways, the name of the game is called Unintentional Horror. Unintentional horror. Don't worry, it's not going to freak you out. But that's the name of it. We're going to throw it up on the screens. I see back there. Is it going to come up over there? Wait for it. There we go. There we go. It's called Unintentional Horror. Here's how this game works. All right. You've got some seemingly ordinary photos, right? Family photos. Remember your old church directory photos? Who's old enough to remember the Olin Mills church directory photos, right? So these are ordinary photos, except there's like an unintentional element of horror in them. So here we go. Nice family getting their family shot. Now, what's behind the door? That's what we're going to find out. What's behind the scary door? Everybody stand up, all right? Everybody stand up. Everybody gets to play. We're going to give away some bags. What's behind this door? Is it number one, a scary-looking raccoon, 2, a kid with a creepy clown mask, 3, a man with a little arm, or 4, a gremlin on an airplane wing? Lock in your votes. 1, 2, 3, or 4. Here comes the big reveal. It's a man with a little arm. Can you see the little arm coming out of his sleeve? If you said number 3, you're still in the game. Congratulations. Next round. What's behind the scary door? What's behind the scary door? Is it A, number 1, a kid with a vacuum cleaner for no apparent reason, 2, a kid with a cat wearing the same outfit he is, 3, a kid with a parent sitting on his lap, or number 4, a kid with a doll that never leaves his side? Lock it in. 1, 2, 3, or 4. There it is. If you said 4, you're still in the game. I don't know which is scarier, the kid's haircut or the mannequin, the dummy. All right, here we go. What's behind the scary door? Olin Mills church directory family photo. Is it 1, a grown man in a kilt with bagpipes, 2, an old lady in a bathing suit and swim cap, 3, a kid wearing a witch's mask, or 4, a family dog, what looks like blood on its face? 1, 2, 3, or 4. Lock it in. The correct answer is a kid wearing a witch's mask. Number 3. Maybe you've been there as a parent. You're just tired of fighting it? Fine. Wear the mask. I don't care. All right. What's behind the scary door? Seemingly innocent photo. Father and his child. Is it 1, a little girl with ill intentions? Number 2, a cat with red eyes about to pounce. Number 3, what looks like horns coming out of the baby's head. Or number 4, a creepy picture that is looking at the baby. Lock in your answers. We've got a few left in the room, maybe a couple online still to go. You can play along if you're sitting too. You just can't win. All right, let's find out. It is a little girl with ill intentions. Look at the deviousness. Look at the deviousness. Isn't that crazy? All right, we're going to do a couple more just for giggles. What's behind the scary door? Is Joe the last person in? Joe's the last person in? Crazy. All right, is it Grandpa approaching menacingly with a hammer, a birthday candle flame that is about to burn a family member, an angry hawk about to attack its whistling antagonist, or a creepy clown? Joe, lock it in. 1, 2, 3, or 4. The correct answer is Grandpa approaching menacingly with a hammer. So good. Are you still in? Did that knock you out? He's out. All right, we're just gonna go super quick because these are priceless. What's behind this scary door? Picture it in your mind. Did you say a horse? He's terrorized. The scary door. What's behind the scary door? Take it in. Picture it in your mind. A creepy doll. That's like the dad of the house, right? Like, I'm gonna stick this in the window, and it's gonna be hilarious. That's how you play unintentional horror. Who are our last people? You were still in, right? You were in at the end. Who else was still in besides Joe? Was there anybody else? Who made it towards the end? You come on up, get a prize bag. And here's what my wife said, what's in the bags? We need to know what's in the bags. There's a phenomenal book. There's some Belgian chocolate. There's an incredibly powered flashlight. There's fun to last a lifetime. One of them, there's some really, really cool binoculars. So I've got 3 more bags to give away before we leave this room. With all that being said, thanks for playing along. Let's take it to the worship team.
All right, let's stand together one more time. I hope and pray that we all are encouraged and blessed throughout time together at Thrive, and everybody watching online, that we don't just have fun. It's so great to get together and to laugh together, but also when we go home that we're transformed and inspired to pursue things that we didn't think of before, or to do things that we sense that the Lord is laying on our hearts. So we want to declare him as the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Amen. How many of you are enjoying this so far? So you having a good time? Chap, such great word. And my personal hero is Craig Sanborn. Isn't he like born to do this? He's so good. Let's give it up for Craig. Come on. Molly, you like Craig? He's great, isn't he? All right. Well, let's pray. Let's worship together. There is a name who reigns without contention, whose power can't be questioned or contained. Humble fame, he rules the earth and heaven. His glory knows no measure or frame, and it's bursting past the borderlines of space. Jesus, enthroned upon the praises of our hearts. Jesus, you're the King and you're the center of it all, of it all. There is a name reaching past the margin, calling sons and daughters back to him. And as he saves, we can hear the roar of heaven. These prodigals are coming home again. The triumph of his name will never end. Upon the praises of our hearts. Jesus, you're the King and you're the center of it all. Sing that again. Sing Jesus. Oh, oh, Jesus, enthroned upon the praises of our hearts. You're the King and you're the center of it all. Yeah, yeah. For every eye will see and every heart will know there is no name above the name of Jesus. Death could not hold him down, no grave could keep him bound. Praises of our hearts. Jesus, you're the King and you're the center of it all. Sing that again. Oh Jesus, you are enthroned. Oh Jesus, enthroned upon the praises of our hearts. enthroned upon the praises of our hearts. Right here, right now, as we sing, Jesus, you're the King and you're the center of it all. Oh. Just stand quiet before the Lord for just a moment. Let His presence wash over you. He created us for this, to have fellowship with Him, to be in community with Him. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you that you're here right now. Thank you that you're working, you're moving, you're speaking, you're molding hearts. We give you this time, God. We pray that as we go from here, that you will transform us. We love you. We worship you, God. Amen. Amen. You may be seated. What's next? Chap, are you here? You can come. Your turn. Yeah.
Are we done?
Yeah.
I thought we had more games.
Shoot, bummer. Okay, I better come up with something. You usually give me that 5 minutes, which is awesome. Hi, everybody. Hey, thanks for being kind. Okay, it's great to be with you. I've had a great time, and I've really appreciated the opportunity to hit you with both barrels, with the intent of trying to figure out how do we, after a year like this, to have a conference called Thrive, where we refocus to be able to talk about last night. Sorry, I forgot I had a mask. Isn't that weird? You ever leave your car and go in the grocery store and go, shoot, have to run back and grab the dang thing, and then it's in the other car because your kid took it, and okay, well, I just had one of those moments. I just thought I'd share that with you. Thank you. And I didn't go softly last night. I kind of hit it hard right out of the chute, simply because these days are so important for us to get ourselves aligned and to refocus who we are as followers of Christ. And I do know that some of you, whether it's online or here, you may have struggled with anything I've said or what you've heard in the seminar, of course, that you could happen because of me or anybody else. And you still may have questions about this thing called faith. And what do you mean to kneel before a child? And what do you mean last night that I got all kind of bruises and I'm wounded and I need help and I'm a functional orphan? That's a weird phrase. You may never have heard that before. I risked not being kind and tender and comforting out of the gate because these are not normal days. That said, there's a great quote that I ran across quite a while ago by Robert Farrar Capone on his book, The Astonished Heart, where he says, "We are in a war between dullness and astonishment." And I would say dullness is not necessarily the word that most of us would apply to the last several months and couple of years we've had. Dullness. It's not like boredom, but dullness doesn't necessarily mean boredom. Dullness may be the state of our souls. That our souls may have gotten a little bit rubbed raw. Each one of us is going to have to figure out, what does it mean to re-engage with people without masks? What I just heard, I forgot his name, but I was in here for the seminar that was just done, and just an outstanding seminar on caring and sharing faith. What's his name? Aaron. I just heard. Yeah. Aaron, are you here? Aaron? Hey, dude, great job. Incredible stuff. And as was the same with what we heard from Bob last night, the two I was in. Boy, what a load of great, wonderful, very important stuff that you know has been talked about. If you've taken notes or if you've listened carefully and things have grabbed you, maybe there's something that the Lord would like to say. But astonishment and dullness. I'm not talking about dullness in the boring. I'm talking about dullness in the how is God going to create in me a fresh heart? How's God going to create in me energy? How's God going to create in me this childlike ability to just kind of run into it? Well, so we're going to finish off with something that hopefully will be a little more straightforward and hopefully, if you're a little bummed, a little more positive, at least from Good Chap Land here as we're doing this thing, is I didn't mean to become a sailor. I was an IBM kid. I told you that last night. But when I met my wife at a Young Life camp called Woodleaf, I worked for Young Life for 15 years before I started teaching, and I met Dee at Woodleaf, and I did not know that her dad was an avid sailor in the Pacific Northwest. And I did not know that he was the kind of guy that was incredibly generous with his 39-foot sailboat called a CNC 39, a really cool thing. And I really didn't know that he was dumb enough to let me take that boat without knowing hardly anything about sailing, especially in the Pacific Northwest where the tides are literally 15 foot in difference. So if you're in 40 feet of water and you're going to anchor, so you not know much, you put down 50 feet of chain and you wake up in the middle of the night because you are now in 55 feet of water, and that's called dumb. All right, But I got to learn how to sail, and I loved it because he taught us the very first. Dee and I got married. She was smitten, so we got married after 5 months after meeting her. And this is my story to tell. She actually tells a completely different version of that, but that's okay. And so Dee and I met in August. We got married in December 27th of that same year, 1980. And then she got pregnant on her honeymoon. We barely knew each other. It was just absolutely crazy. And we've been married 40 years now. So something's worked. Okay. Thank you for clapping. And it's all for Dee. I already told you she's a marriage and family therapist, and I am kind of goofy. So that said, that summer when Dee was pregnant, we got to go out on the boat for 10 days with my father-in-law and my mother-in-law, who she's still alive. He died a few years ago, into the Pacific Northwest and into Canada. And if you've ever been out there, the fjords is just one of the most beautiful places ever. And he kind of taught me how to do stuff. So from the next summer on, we got to take their boat, even when we started having kids. And they would take care of our kids and give us their boat, and friends would come. And it was incredible. And then they sold that and bought this 50-foot boat called a Maple Leaf 50. And it's like, oh my gosh, and there's no way he should have done that. And I'm going to show you a picture that's not exactly what, you see it. Right there. That is not exactly their boat, but that's exactly what happened once. In a storm, we ran aground off of Vancouver, BC, because I didn't read the charts properly. This is like in my second year having the boat, kind of a big windstorm and this 40-foot sailboat. We had friends with us on it, and we just tacked a little too far off, and there's for miles, just a real flat area, and we ran aground, and it looked just exactly like that, where you could stand on the side of the boat going, oh, this is going to be a problem. And you could take that off now, so I'm just not feeling so awful about myself. But what's really wild about that is I learned a great respect over the many years and ended up sailing a lot more. And we ended up being with other people to get to do that, and then racing some things called stars in the Pacific Northwest. And man, total fun and totally frightening. I don't know how many of you might be sailors, but there's plenty of opportunity to do that, I know, in this part of the country. So, that is a great metaphor for how life can be. It can be exhilarating, but it can also be frightening. It can be beautiful and calm, and we can feel in control, and then it can go absolutely crazy. So as we come out of this, it's not just a metaphor. It's actually an event that the disciples and Jesus had, and that's where we're going from here. It's in Mark chapter 4. Mark chapter 4, starting at verse 35, if you have a Bible, and if you're at home and you're looking at it, I'm going to read it, but you'll see this. Jesus was talking to people, and the crowds were there, and finally they're by a lake. That day when evening came, verse 35 of Mark 4, Jesus said to his friends, his disciples, "Let us go over to the other side of the lake." No problem, beautiful day. Leaving the crowd behind, they took him along just as he was in the boat. There were also other boats with him. And then verse 37, all of a sudden the thing shifted. A furious squall came up, and the waves broke over the boat so that it was nearly swamped. Jesus was in the stern, sleeping on a cushion. The disciples woke him and said to him, "Teacher, don't you care if we drowned?" He got up, rebuked the wind, and said to the waves, "Quiet, be still." Then the wind died down, and it was completely calm. Then he said to his disciples, "Why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith?" I love this. They were terrified. The word was not used in the middle of the storm, by the way. And asked each other, "Who is this? Even the wind and the waves obey him." This is the word of the Lord. This is how Rembrandt actually painted that event. Take a look at this picture up here. I want you to see it. Do you guys have that Rembrandt? There you go. If you look at it carefully, it is, I don't know if that's actually that accurate to the boat and the sail, and probably not exactly. But the fury of wind and waves, you ever been out on a boat when it's gone absolutely nuts? It is unbelievably unsettling, and it's incredibly dangerous. It can be. And that's what the event, okay, you can take that off, that these disciples had, is they went from, this is so fun to be with him, it's so great to be with him, and we get to be disciples, and everybody sees that we're with him, and even though into the week Jesus went to his death, the disciples were arguing about who are the coolest, who are your favorite disciples. I don't know if you've read that before, but that's all over the scriptures is these guys took great pride that Jesus picked them when they were really kind of ordinary guys. They were probably 3s and 5s, at the most. They might have been, Judas, of course, was a 9, but that's a whole different thing. But they had a good day. It was a great day. It was tiring. They're by the side of the lake. Jesus is talking to all these people. They're kind of, pretty excited. They're in their teal T-shirts, Thrive right on them. 33 AD. And, afterwards, Jesus goes, "All right, you guys, a lot of you are fishermen. You've been raised right around here. Let's head off that way. Let's go off to the other side." No problem. The guy goes, "Hey, we got this. Lord, come on in. This is great." And he sits down in the back of the boat, and they take off. Almost for sure some kind of sailing mechanism, probably some oars, sure, a tiller. And remember, there are 12 disciples in Jesus. Now, he also had men and women that followed him and were with him. We don't think they were in that boat. Maybe they're in the other boats. Maybe they joined the crowd. We don't know. But at least the 12 are there. So there's the 12 guys and Jesus. Jesus is in the back. He's asleep in the stern on the cushion. Okay? And he's tired. I don't know if you ever knew that the Lord actually, as the human who had the fullness of God in him, was still fully human, and he got hungry, and he got sad, and he got mad, and he got tired, like you and I do. And he gets in the back, and he falls asleep in this, it's a beautiful night, beautiful sunset, and Jesus is just, fantastic, having a beverage that people that go to a covenant church would enjoy in the evening. I'm a Presbyterian, and it might be the same beverage, but not, absolutely sure. And then all of a sudden, as they're going, everything's great. Then all of a sudden, the waves start kicking in, and the wind starts blowing, and the wind starts blowing more, and then they start bickering at each other. And then somebody maybe is a little better at sailing, according to that person, and they start arguing with each other. And then it gets a little more, that gets beyond arguing with each other, it gets a little more serious. So the waters start to come in the boat as the wind and the waves are crashing, much like Rembrandt pointed out. As this all is happening, they're getting more and more frantic. And certainly, they look back in the back, and each one of them individually at some point noticed, how was he sleeping? Come on, really, when you read the Bible, if you don't notice that, then you need to microwave your coffee, get back in the chair, go to the garage, grab the crash helmet, get a life vest, tie yourself down, because in the scriptures, it is loaded with stuff that ought to completely blow you away. But we read, oh, he's asleep in the back. Okay, no big. It was a big deal. He's asleep, and the crowd is going, and the waves and wind are going crazy. So the guys get so worked up, as we read right here. He in the stern sleeping, the disciples woke him. That's all it says. Can you imagine what would have happened? They're getting so desperate that, for one thing, they not only need his help to bail, to hold a line, to row, to balance the boat, but they also needed his powers early on in his life with them. But they'd seen enough to know this is Jesus. He's different. He's saying things that are totally different. He's got this innate power to him. And we need him. We need him to help us, but we also just need him because we're scared to death. This is crazy. But I love how the scriptures just tell, especially the Gospel of Mark, because at least tradition tells us that Peter is the one that dictated the Gospel of Mark to John Mark. That's what some believe. And it looks like that's possible, especially in light of this, because there are different places where the disciples do a lot of stuff together that probably one of them did. I won't go into the details of why, but this is a great example. How do you think they woke him up? My mind's a little weird, I know, but ever since I've been a Christian, since I was 16 years old, I read something like that, and I go, oh, hold on a second. Who woke him? He's asleep. The Lord's asleep, and the storm is raging. He's asleep. Who's going to wake him up? So I think they had a meeting. Christians are good at meetings. And I think Peter went, hey, guys, come here. You know, they're just like this. And the wind and the waves and the water. And I think he said, okay, somebody's got to wake up Jesus. We need help. We're not going to make it. I'm so scared. This is crazy. Somebody wake him up. And they go, Peter, we think you're the oldest, biggest, and you ought to wake him up. And Peter goes, yeah, you're right, I'm the biggest, and so I'm not going to wake him up. So I think Bartholomew, you got the weirdest name and nobody will ever hear of you anyway, so you be the one to wake him up. And then I'm sure all of them looked at John because he was the youngest. He goes, John, you're the youngest. You're the baby of the crowd. You can wake him up and he won't mind because he never gets mad at you. And so, and certainly they argued because you know what? They ended up to the decision that the disciples woke him. Remember, these are not huge boats. It's not like they got this Bayliner 38-foot with twin engines that's going to ultimately be okay. It was just a boat. And they are feeling like they're about to die. And all the scriptures tell us is the disciples. So 12 guys, totally soaked, scared out of their wits, somehow make their way to the stern of the boat. And all together they go, Lord! And look what they say. Is this hysterical? Hey, do you ever look at the scriptures and go, boy, that's hysterical. Look what it says. Teacher, don't you care if we drowned? Okay, he's in the boat asleep and they scream at him because the wind and the waves, rain. Don't you care if we drown? And here's Jesus, dead asleep, rim. And don't you care as the 12 of them are leaning into him? What a thing to say from, Capone's line. Dullness and astonishment, the dullness of fear, the way that their lives had treated them, the Roman occupation, the struggle of being ordinary peasants that were really crummy fishermen. Did you notice in the Bible they never caught anything unless Jesus did it? And here they are, and they're about to die, and Jesus is with them this time, and they scream at him, "Don't you care?" That's good. Because if you have never hit the point where you stand in a field or on a mountaintop or somewhere in your home and you just look at the heavens and go, Lord, don't you care? Don't you care that there's no way out? There is no hope. I am so gone. I'm so frustrated. I'm so beaten down. If you have children, those of you that do, there is certainly at some point, if you hadn't hit it yet, it's because they're young. Or you've been watching too much TV. Because there's got to be something inside of you at some point where you are scared to absolute death. First time your kid drives. 12 years old, no license, brand new BMW, okay, whatever it is. It's okay to scream at the Lord, don't you care? Do you know that? How well do you know him? It's okay to yell at him. It's okay to scream to him, don't you care? Because sometimes those wind and those waves gets horrific. Sometimes the pandemic gets uncontrollable. Sometimes we get into patterns. You know, it only takes 3 months to develop habits. 3 months. We're in month 11. We've developed habits of the mind and the heart that in relationships that we don't even know until we come out of this thing. Where is Christ? In the midst of all the things that we've experienced and the things that we personally in our families experience. And these guys are just absolutely scared to death. And they scream at him. So what does he do? He did the Jesus thing. Of course, he gets up. I don't know what he said, but he didn't probably have to say much. Excuse me, you know. The guys, you know, they're flying, the boat's going on. And Jesus gets up and does his Jesus walk, you know. And the guys are like looking, and he wakes up and they're thinking, you know, give him a pail, whatever, grab him a rope. And he just looks over the wind and he goes, hush! Like a second grade teacher when kids are absolutely out of control. Hush! Homeschooling. How's that for you on your computer? Hush! Be still. And the drama of this doesn't come out unless you let yourself think about it. That's why you get your coffee heated and you get a crash helmet, because this is incredible. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, it goes from Rembrandt's painting of going absolutely crazy to absolutely still. I'll bet you anything, even though it tells us what they said to each other, they waited 30 minutes just there. And Jesus probably just looking at them. And I think these guys are sitting there going, and eventually after about 30 minutes, surely one of them whispered to the others, don't make him mad. And then he goes, what happened? What happened to you guys? You wouldn't even let me get a nap. I had been teaching all day. I'm tired. And you guys, you're going crazy in your circumstances. What did I say to you before we left? Do you remember that? What was the last thing I said before I went to sleep? Yes, way to go. It was rhetorical, but I love it that you feel comfortable enough that we got this thing happening. We're going to go to the other side of the lake. Let's go to the other side of the lake. You trust me enough in the midst of the storm. Did you not trust me enough that I would get you there even though I was asleep? What happened to you? Because I said we're going to the other side of the lake, and guess what? We're going to the other side of the lake. You had absolutely nothing to worry about, so enjoy the ride. You ever think of your life that way? To refocus? That's why you came to Jesus, guys. Is because this wild ride of ups and downs and fears and longings and sometimes things we really enjoy, and when our heart soars, we see a child at play, or we hear a song, or we see a sunset, and something in us realizes it's way better, it's way bigger than anything I could imagine, but I get so focused in the now and what I feel and what I struggle with and what I'm scared of that I forget that we we think that Jesus is asleep and he doesn't care. Don't you care? Wow. He goes, what happened? We're going to go. It's okay. I got you. Here we go. I had a great friend, a mentor, a man named Mike Yaconelli, who started Youth Specialties, which is where some of our buddies in the youth ministry world, Yaconelli was one of the rare prophets, and I'm sure you were around him a lot, Rick. And I'm sure a bunch of people here have been around Mike. And Mike was not only a mentor and a really good friend, he loved the water, and he and Carla sailed with me indeed 3 times or so, and we were close buddies. Well, Mike had his favorite story talking about what his life was like, and this is who he was. Incredible books if you want to read some really fun Christian books that are completely outside the box of probably what you ever read. The one called Dangerous Wonder, I'm going to quote from in a minute, but his last talk before he died probably a brain aneurysm in a car crash after a youth specialist convention with about 6,000 people there. His last talk was a talk that he had given a lot. I heard him give it a bunch. And he talked about life as this giant roller coaster, where when he came to faith in Jesus and he started to take Jesus more seriously the older he got, primarily because he had a relationship with a man named Henry Nouwen that helped changed everything for him, writer, thinker, that Mike saw his faith as this roller coaster ride where he'd get in the roller coaster, and when you get in and the thing would come down, like not just the crummy little ones, but the big, huge mothers, you know, that the kids wait in line for 2 hours and can't wait, and then they come in, they lock in, and then click, 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 click. I don't know if you've ever been on one of those, but you've at least seen them. Click, 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 and he described it so beautifully in about 55 minutes. Took him, and he gets, you know, click, 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 click. And he describes every click, you know, and up, and up. And it's, and you look down, and it's scary because you're hundreds of feet, it feels like, and you get up, and all of a sudden, wham, and you go downhill, and it's so fun, and up, and then click, 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 click. And then when it goes down again, you're lifted from your seat, and you're so scared, and you scream, and I'm never going to live, and you get to the bottom, and there's this really fun turns and twists, and up again, and then down again, and then you're scared out of your wits, but you've never had anything like that before, and you get in, and then this is what Mike would share. It gets in to the deal, even though there's a long line there, and you get it, click, 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 and you get in, and you say, is it over? Is it over? And the guy says, yeah, you got to get out. He said, that's faith. That's how Mike described faith in Jesus. Is that your faith in Jesus? That you go up and you go down and you get excited and you get scared and you scream out, don't you care? But then you see his power, you see his eyes, you see him care for that woman who was weeping and kissing his feet. And you look at him, and Mike goes, and I swear he said this a day before he died. He said, when I finally get in and that roller coaster ride is over, I want to look at Jesus square in the eye and say, what a ride. That was Yaconelli. I haven't seen that from very many Christians in my life. I haven't heard that from very many Christians in my life. He says in his book, Dangerous Wonder, this line, the greatest enemy of Christianity may be people who say they believe in Jesus, but who are no longer astonished and amazed. We've been stunted by mediocrity. That's what it means to refocus. Refocus on the one who has called us his own. Refocus on his ability to heal us. Refocus on who we actually are, that we're co-debtors and are desperate for his love. But to refocus on his power and his passion and the life he's come to bring, not only to you and me, but to every corner of creation, where he declares, you are mine, it is mine. Buckle up. I got a ride for you. Mike goes on. We've lost the gleam in our eye. Jesus no longer chases us in the ragged terrain of our souls. We've forgotten what it's like to stand speechless in the presence of Jesus, hearts beating wildly, staggered and stunned by what God is doing in our world. The obstacles are intimidating, but they need not dictate our lives. We can rediscover the childlike attitude of our faith called dangerous wonder. Do not give up. Dangerous wonder is still possible for all of us. You can still experience a volatile mix of astonishment and terror, awe and risk, amazement and fear, adventure and exhilaration, tears and laughter, passion and anticipation, daring and enchantment. As you come to Jesus, may we come out of this like a 4-year-old that's going on their first roller coaster. This grand adventure of life. Those disciples, had they only known, this was the ticket of their life when they signed on with Jesus. You guys, what happened to your faith? This could have been the greatest adventure. You've been in boats before. You've been scared to death before. But knowing that I'm here and I said we're going to cross the other side, you got nothing to worry about. What an adventure. What a joy. What a gift. What a privilege. Why are we so scared? Well, because there's powers. The Bible says there's authorities and powers, and we limit that to celestial reigns. But there's reality that there are human powers and all kind of temptations and all kind of pressures that squeeze us in. So we feel like we got to be fearful and we got to defend. We got to put our dukes up. But you can't put your dukes up when you're holding on for dear life in the roller coaster of life. You got to have a childlike heart to actually experience what God has for you as you're on that roller coaster. But we want to fight those powers. My oldest son, when he was in high school and college, he is 6 foot tall, but he was about 225 pounds. He's a defensive tackle. There he is at Westmont College on the rugby team. So Dee and I went to go watch. That's Chap Jr. He's now 39 years old. But he's on the Westmont rugby team, and they were playing at a school called San Luis Obispo that you can't go there unless you're 6'8" and 300 kilos. I mean, they're big kids. San Luis Obispo, and the rugby team with these crazy people. If you've never seen rugby, it's crazy people that destroy each other. It's football without rules or pads, basically. It's we're watching pouring rain. Dee and I went up to see our son play rugby for the first time, and in the middle of this thing they call a scrum, which is a word that means complete physical chaos, and then you have beer afterwards. That's rugby. So there's this big fight. They're all fighting in the thing, and they're pushing, and then one guy came, a big, huge guy came, and just right after a play, evidently, I didn't know the rules, but shoved my kid and hit him really hard with his forearm. I mean, like a full-on smack to his shoulder and face. I'm a dad, all right? I'm 5'9", 165 pounds of pure fury. So what did I do when I see some guy attacking my kid on this rugby field with all these huge young men on both sides who were just smashing each other for about 45 minutes? I did what you'd do. I ran onto the field to protect my kid. Because that's what we do. We see power at work. We're going to do what we can. We're going to put our dukes up. We're going to go at it. And as soon as I got out there, I realized that I had all of these guys on both sides of the field looking at me like, what's this crazy old man doing running onto the field in the middle of a rugby game? By the way, they were fighting because this started a big fight. And I went in there, and both my son and the guy that had hit him, they were really going at each other. They both stopped, and they turned, and they looked at me like, you are the craziest person in the world. Did you know that Colossians chapter 2 says this? Jesus Christ, having disarmed the powers and authorities, he made a public spectacle of them, triumphing over them by the cross. Jesus Christ has disarmed any power that would keep us from the right of our lives. That's what my kid did. He picked me up right then and just he was still 220. Now he's about 165 pounds. Body's changed like crazy. But then he just picked me up and he said looked the other guy as if to say, I got this. He picked me up and he walked me off the field and he said, just enjoy the game. I love how Eugene Peterson translates Romans 8, 11, and 15. Take a look at this. This resurrection life you receive from God is not a timid, grave-tending life. It's adventurally expectant. greeting God with a childlike, "What's next, Papa? What do you got in store?" May the church of Jesus Christ around the world, may the church of the U.S., and may this beautiful church of great people that love one another, may you see your faith as the great ride of the ages, knowing that Jesus Christ does not sleep on his watch, but he has taken us to the other side. May you follow him. May you know him with childlike wonder and adventurous excitement, trusting that Father who so loves you to look him in the eye and say, "What's next? Bring it on, Lord." Because we at Plymouth belong to you. We are yours. And we get the grand adventure of sharing your love with a world that's so desperate for your love. Teach us to see. Teach us to love. And teach us to bring his light and goodness to the world. In the name of Christ, may you go without fear, but go with the trust in the Lord Jesus Christ, who will draw all to himself for his sake and his glory. Thanks for the privilege of being with you. I've sure enjoyed it. Thanks.
Awesome. Such awesome stuff. Thank you so much, chap. I want to tell you a little bit about resources that are out there. Chap didn't plug himself, and he plugged Jesus, which is what we look for, right? We want people to plug Jesus. And but he has got incredible resources out there. You mentioned Mike Yaconelli. So many people in youth ministry circles have been influenced by him, but also by Chap as well. If that's a new name, Chap Clark is a new name to you, just go to Amazon. Just go to Google, put his name in, and see what comes up. If you have any type of relationship with teenagers like I do, or you have a teenager in your home, his resources are plentiful. I'm just going to read you. I made up some children's books names earlier today. I'm going to give you just the titles of some of his books that might resonate with you. Hurt 2.0, Inside the World of Today's Teenager. Sticky Faith, hugely influential book that's out there in ministry circles right now. When Kids Hurt, Deep Justice in a Broken World, Disconnected, Creative Bible Lessons, Deep Ministry in a Shallow World, Next Time I Fall in Love. Nick, this is for you, man. Next Time I Fall in Love. I will buy this book for you, all right? It's coming your way. Just so you know, Chelsea, you guys can read this together. You're trying to hide in the back behind the mask. But anyways, Next Time I Fall in Love. Daughters and Dads. Boys to Men. The Performance Illusion, From Father to Son. These are some of his books that are out there and available. A quick Google search will help you guys out. I could have picked on you, Noah. I could have picked on some other people, which I won't mention, Hannah or Noah. All right. I got a couple more giveaways. Where's my bucket? I left my bucket down here. You can bring music up now. We can do this. All right. I want you to see some of the techniques that have happened. I mentioned, or you mentioned, it's all in the fold. Okay, here's one person's approach. Here's another person's approach. We got the crumple and twist approach. So a lot of people going all in. I don't know what this origami thing is right here, but this is someone else's. So I need 3 names, and we're going to give away our remaining gift bags. Online, Paige Stensgaard, you won a prize online, and we gave away a desk online as well. Again, our friends from Becker Furniture World hooked us up, and the online crowd. So Stephen Danica, you have a desk. It's here at church. Come pick it up in your Volkswagen Rabbit. Okay. 3. No, I'm going to trust you to pick 2, and then we'll have you pick one over here. You can fall for the crumples there on top. You can dig at the bottom. It's okay. There's 1. You're going to hold those 2, all right? We're going to get 1 more. She's going deeper, she says. She's not going to be swayed. Oh, there's 2. Yeah, all right. Here we go. Let's find out who our last 3 winners are. Chelsea, you get the book, and you get the bag. Coming up, grab one of these bags. There's some Red Bulls. If you pick the right bag, there's some Red Bulls in those bags also. Kirk Fullen, is Kirk still here? Still here? Good. All right, congratulations. And last and certainly not least, Winfred in the room? Yay, come on up, buddy. Congratulations. Last thing I'll mention is that we have some surveys. We want to continually improve upon this and build upon the Thrive Weekend. If you signed up, you should have probably an email in your box right now asking you just to let us know how things went this weekend. If it scratched and itched, if there's ways that we can improve, please let us know that as we build towards next year. The speaker is already lined up. I don't know who it is, but I've been told the speaker's already lined up, even though the date is not specific yet. So that will be happening next year. We're excited about that. I don't think I'm missing anything. Am I forgetting anything? All right, don't forget your kids, people. Don't forget your kids. Go pick it up. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We actually have church this weekend too, right? Tonight and tomorrow. So hopefully we'll catch you either tonight or tomorrow. Guys, go refocus and thrive.
Staring into your eyes makes my heart come alive. Suddenly brought to life when I met you. Reaching beyond the sky.